Greetings to you in the name of Yawasha, the Hashwar Hebrew name for Jesus. I'm Michael Hoshaya, and I'm with you today to finish up the series Revelation in Light of Daniel with part 12, the Kingdom of the Messiah. We've come a long ways. We've come from the book of Daniel, chapter 2, all the way up to the book of Revelation, chapter 17. We've discussed a lot of scripture and we've discussed a lot of history. And we've also identified the principle that was started by Antiochus IV Epiphanes, which is believe and do as I say or die. This translated into the pompous mouth on the little horn that popped up in Daniel chapter 7. It also translated to the dragon, chapter 12. It also translated to the first beast of the sea, chapter 13 of Revelation. And it also translated to the second beast of Revelation, chapter 13, all the way up to that woman, the whore that sits on the scarlet beast in chapter 17. So we have identified the pompous mouth and words all the way from before the time of Messiah, that is Yawasha. We've also learned and identified who this whore is. We've also identified the likelihood of where the false prophet is going to come out from by identifying who the little horn represented, which was the bishops of Rome back in the time of the barbarian wars in Italy. But today we're going to finalize and recap just real quick what it is that we haven't really put a lot of focus on. And that is in the book of Daniel, we read about a stone that was cut out without hands that came in and destroyed everything by striking the feet of iron and clay. Once you take out the feet of someone or the legs of someone, they cannot walk, they cannot do anything. So there it is. All the kingdoms are nullified and destroyed. As a matter of fact, it said the stone stamped them down to where nothing could be found. They were as chaff. So with that being the case, we need to learn a little bit more about this. Now, we did discuss previously that this was none other than the better known Jesus. I know a lot of you don't understand the Hashwar Hebrew name Yawasha, and that is for another video. We will explain that. However, I will provide a link to that you can go to watch a video to begin to understand the Hashwar Hebrew and how it is proven to be the language that was spoken while Messiah walked the earth. However, let's continue on and learn about this and finalize the series, Revelation in Light of Daniel, with the Messiah, the kingdom of the Messiah. Let's go back and refresh. Oh, just get rid of that pen. I always do that, never fails. Let's go back and refresh. This is the interpretation of the dream of Nebuchadnezzar that Daniel is giving Nebuchadnezzar concerning his dream. And the last part is the stone that was cut out without hands and how it would come and crash down on the feet of the statue. So let's begin in verse 34 of Daniel chapter 2. It says, "Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like chaff on the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the earth." Now you may remember a verse in Matthew chapter 16 where the Messiah was speaking with Peter. And as a matter of fact, before this time he was called Simon. And So he asked him, who, what, let's just go ahead. Let's just go ahead and read it. We're going to start at 13, verse 13 right here in Matthew chapter 16, verse 13. When Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, "Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" And they said, "Some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elias, that is Elijah, and others Jeremiah, that is Jeremiah, and one of the prophets." He saith unto them, "But whom say you that I am?" And Simon Peter answered, said, "Thou art the Christ, Son of the living God." And Jesus answered and said unto him, "Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." We need to do a little bit of discussion here. When the Messiah said to Peter that thou art Peter, the Greek word for Peter, well, I'll just show it to you. Let's open up our definitions. Let's go down here and look. Now, the Catholic Church loves to say that Peter was the rock that the Messiah was talking about, and that the church would be built upon him. And there is scripture that seems to suggest this. However, what they're not telling you is that since they claim that Peter went to Rome, which he did not, according to Galatians chapter 2, they try to say that since Peter was the rock, that church was founded on him, he gave special authority to the Catholics, and then they killed him. So therefore, they have the keys. This is why you see the cross keys on any Catholic documentation or their Bibles, the Vulgate, and so forth. And so they say that Peter was the rock that the church was built upon. But when we look at the definitions, we're going to find something completely different. The name Peter, right here says Petros, apparently a primary word, a piece of rock, larger than G3037. So we see here that by definition, Peter did not mean the rock, it meant a piece of the rock. And then the rock that the Messiah continued on to say, says that thou art Peter, and upon this rock, what does it say? Petra, feminine of the same as G4074, a mass of rock. So you can see here by definition that the Messiah, Yawashags, was not telling Peter that he was the rock that the church was going to be built on. He told Peter, he says, "You are a piece of rock, and upon this rock," pointing to himself, he was the rock that the church was built upon, Yawashags, not Peter. So the Messiah was the rock that was cut out of the mountain without hands, that would crush all the kingdoms and all the politics and all the nonsense and murder and idolatry that came with these kingdoms. And here it was at his birth, it was going to happen. So we see by definition that Peter was not the rock, but it was the Messiah, because Peter had to learn from the Messiah, Yawashags, before he knew anything. The Gospels attest to that. Peter didn't know anything until Messiah came along. So Peter was a piece of the rock. After the Messiah was crucified and he ascended, that left the disciples, which became apostles, to deliver the message. So the Messiah was the rock. Peter and the disciples and the apostles were the pieces of the rock that would finish the foundation. They would lay the foundation for us to believe upon their word and upon the writings of the scriptures to build the church, which is the people, the body of Christ, the bride, a gathering, known in Greek as ecclesia, in our Bibles today, church. So we know that Messiah was the rock. So let's just go to Psalms chapter 2, which was speaking of the Messiah to come. And, I'm sorry, I passed it up, didn't I? Okay, Psalm chapter 2. Let's just go ahead and start right here. Let's get rid of the definitions. It says, we're going to begin reading in verse 1 of Psalms chapter 2. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet I have set my king upon my holy hill in Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. This is talking about the Messiah. Who else on earth in history was ever baptized and a voice of thunder rolled across the mountains that everybody heard and said, thou art my son, I have begotten thee? Who else was that done for other than Yawasha, the Messiah, at his baptism? You can read about it in the Synoptic Gospels. So we know that this is referring to the Son of the Most High God, Yah, by his name, Yawasha. The Son says, it says, thou art my son. He said that to the Messiah when he was baptized. And here it is, that thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. What happened in Daniel? The rock that was cut out without hands smashed the feet and smashed the kingdoms. So at Messiah's birth, the kingdom was started. Do you understand? And what has happened today? Yawasha is taught throughout most of the world. There are parts that still do not know about him. But he, from his birth, has grown into that kingdom, the mountain that covers the earth. It's undeniable, no matter how you look at it. So let's just go to Matthew chapter 2 here real quick. And we're going to begin in, 1 through 8. Let's go ahead and read 1 through 8. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea in the days of Herod, king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea. For thus it is written by the prophet, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search diligently for the young child. And when you have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. No. Herod wanted to do something nasty because Herod was considered king and ruling over that area. So, as the saying goes, heavy is the head that wears the crown, because when you're a king, somebody's always trying to take it. We learned that in Rome. We learned that about Greece. We learned about Persia, the whole 9 yards. When you're a king, you want to protect your empire. And this is exactly what Herod was doing, because it was written in prophecy that a child would be born that would rule over Jerusalem. So he wanted to rid them. So if we go down and we know the story that the men told Herod, no, we didn't find him, and so forth, that Herod got rather irate. And it said, and when he found out that they had betrayed him, it said, then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and in all the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. He had all the young boys killed, the infant children killed, because he didn't know who the Messiah was. He didn't understand these writings of prophecy. He didn't understand that it wasn't going to be of an earthly kingdom. All he knew is that there was going to be a king. And what happened? This happened after the birth of the Messiah. This is when Joseph took Mary, according to the dream that they had, and fled to Egypt. And they took Yawasha with him. So, with that being the case, where have we heard that Herod, something similar to what Herod would do here, seeking to devour the child? Oh, well, let's go to the book of Revelation and find out. We covered this also, and about the red dragon. Let's go ahead and take another look real quick. And we're going to go to verses 4. And read 4 and 5. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Look, there it is to Psalms 2, the rod of iron. And here it is being given prophecy to John when he was in exile on the Isle of Patmos, when he received this vision. That is the book of Revelation. Here it is that he would see what was happening in the spiritual realm according to what was going to happen on earth, and did happen. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule the nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. Who else do we know that did that other than Messiah, that is Yawasha? No one, because even Yawasha said, none has ascended save the Son of Man. None has ascended. Yawasha was the only one that now sits in the throne at the right hand of majesty and the right hand of power. We know that. This is Yawasha. This is what it was talking about. So the stone that came in and crushed the feet had to be none other than Yawasha the Messiah, better known to most as Jesus. His kingdom started at his birth, and it had to grow. So let's go look at Matthew 19 and 28 and see what it says. Here it is. Verily I say unto you, and Jesus said unto them, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me, in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, you also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Do you see? So the kingdom started at his birth, but all things must be fulfilled, and he was crucified in order to become our sin. Read Ezekiel chapter 14, verses, I believe it's 1 through 11. It might be 1 through 22. I'm not sure. Ezekiel 14, to see how the Messiah became sin when he uttered those words on the cross, Father, forgive them. You see, all things had to be fulfilled. So his kingdom wasn't an earthly kingdom according to the understanding of men such as Herod. No, his kingdom was a spiritual kingdom, which was started at his birth. So when he ascended to the throne, he is going to come back. And when he does, those who have endured to the end, that is during the regeneration, when the new heavens and new earth are going to come, yeah, that's what he's talking about. We who have endured to the end shall judge with him. So, my brothers and sisters, all of this is to show you that the kingdoms of men, they have come and they have gone. But make no mistake, the stone that was cut out without hands was none other than Yawasha, the Messiah, better known to most as Jesus. His empire comes in, crushes the feet, crushes the kingdoms of men, because he will rule them with a rod of iron. So when he comes back, this prophecy will be fulfilled. I hope you've enjoyed this study. Please, if you have any questions or comments, you may make them here, or you may put them on my Facebook under the same name, Michael Hoshaya. It's open to the public. And if you've enjoyed the series or any of the other videos, please share them with others. I'm not really worried about the likes and all of that. I'm not that vain. But people need to know the truth. So please, share it. Let the truth be known. Let it get out there, because there's so much false doctrine and traditional teachings out there that people are blinded by. We have to eliminate that. It is our job to eliminate that. We are watchmen. We see the sword coming. We know that these are the end times. Jeremiah said, watchmen, look, we know these are the end times. And if we get caught without warning them, then their blood is on our hands if they die in their sin. But if we warn them, then we are free of their blood, and they are accountable to their own sin. So please, share it. If you agree with it, questions, comments, let me know. I appreciate you. I thank God for you. I thank God for his word and his son, and allowing me to do the work and will of the Most High God, the Father, Yah. Until I see you next time, have a good day.